updates and preparedness of the Kawempe North by-election. You are welcome, Mr. Julius.
Thank you very much, and I am happy to be here again in the studios of Family TV, Church of Uganda Family TV, and of course to start by thanking Family TV for availing these platforms to let the people know what they need to know. Today, the 11th of March 2025 is the last day of the campaigns. So all of the candidates that are contesting for the Kawempe North by-election, as well as for councillor seat for Kazo-Angola, are doing the last pitches. They are doing their last pitches today to mobilize and campaign and show their best cases to the people of Kawempe North to say we are the best. And just to give the viewers a bit of context, obviously, the Kawempe North Division is in a by-election following the death of the former Member of Parliament, Muhammad Segirinya. And as the law requires, when a seat of Member of Parliament becomes vacant, within a period of more than 6 months before the next general election or the next election for Members of Parliament, a by-election has to take place so that the people of that particular constituency are represented. But it only happens after the clerked Parliament has informed the Electoral Commission that such a seat is vacant. And that is what happened in the case of Kawempe North. The clerked Parliament informed the Commission. The law says that upon the death of or seat becoming vacant, the clerked Parliament has to inform the Commission within 10 days. And after that notification, the Electoral Commission has to organize a by-election within 60 days. So what we are in at the moment is a race to make sure that within the 60 days that are provided for in the law, that the people of Kawempe Division North will have a Member of Parliament representing them, so that none of the constituencies in the country is not represented in Parliament. So that is where we are. And when that happened, I'm just bringing people on board so that we see the step-by-step process, because now we're coming to the end. The Commission invited a stakeholder meeting at which all the key partners or key stakeholders within the electoral process in Kawempe, political parties, leaders, civil society, media, religious leaders, and all people that have a stake to play, a role to play within Kawempe Division North by-election, were invited at a hotel where the media were. To roll out the program for them. And this was done successfully. Following that stakeholders meeting, there was an update of the voters register, specifically for those that are going to participate in Kawempe Kawempe North by-election. So that update of the voters register involved new voters who are residents in Kawempe, who originate from Kawempe, coming up and registering to be on the voters register for Kawempe Division North. That was done. Then we had people who wanted to transfer from other places to Kawempe Division North. But remember, the law says you can only vote from a place where you reside or where you originate. So that was done, and after that update of the voters register, the next phase was the display of the outcomes of that specific update for the by-election. And the display involves posting at each polling station, and we have 197 polling stations in Kawempe North, posting the voters that have been updated in that exercise to participate in the by-election. So that ended, and there was a phase for raising any complaints, which was also handled, and the next was to nominate the candidates that we now have. The nominations went very well, and following the nominations, all the candidates were invited at a meeting before the returning officer to agree on a campaign program. And it is at that campaign program harmonization meeting that the program that we've been following and we've been reporting on of campaigns was developed, agreed, and signed. So today, as the campaigns conclude, the candidates and their supporters and their agents and everybody is following the campaign program that was agreed by all candidates with their agents, that this is where I will be on this particular day at this particular time.
Okay.
At this point, I want to, and the Commission wants to thank and appreciate the people of Kawempe North for showing the level of commitment to this process and acting in a peaceful way. The Commission thanks the candidates and their supporters. It also thanks the security agencies and security officials, particularly Uganda Police, which is the agency that we work with in securing elections, for ensuring that these past days of the campaign process have been very peaceful. Of course, regretting the incidents that happened at the beginning of the campaign and shortly after the nominations. But we are glad that what we've seen following the first phase, the first part of the campaign, have been successful, have been peaceful, and the hope and the call of the Commission today is that as we conclude the campaign process, let peace reign.
Now, which also brings me to the next question. We see that, yes, despite the fact that security has been there, it has been very active, as we have been seeing throughout the days. However, of course, we have also seen some clashes here and there. We have seen some tension. So what is the Electoral Commission doing to see to it that the safety of voters and even the candidates themselves and the polling officials is paramount? Especially since we are coming, the by-election is actually around the corner. It is on Thursday. So what has the Electoral Commission put in place to ensure the security for these people?
So, after the nomination, we saw an incident in which one of the candidates had a bad interaction with elements of security. And the day that followed, we also had another case. And the Commission has been very consistent.
Yes.
Not just for this by-election, but for the general elections in the country, that the Commission would like to see the country hold peaceful, transparent, credible elections. And to be able to do that, number one, every actor in the electoral process is required and expected to follow the laws that are in place, and there are several. Everybody is expected and required to follow the guidelines provided issued by the Electoral Commission. Everybody is required to treat each other with respect. Security is required to exercise maximum restraint when it is, enforcing the laws. Candidates and supporters are required and expected not to engage in activities that provoke a response that creates situations like the ones we saw. So following those two bad incidents, the Commission invited security agencies. It called the police, the senior leadership of the police, one to put to them the issues that it had, and to discuss ways of ensuring the subsequent campaign processes are peaceful. And we are pleased to say that following the meeting that the Commission had with security agencies, we have seen peaceful conduct of campaigns. Because at the core is that the people of Kawempe North, and the people of Uganda for that matter, need to continue going about their businesses, whether they are elections, whether they are campaigns or not. Number two is to say, as the Commission has always emphasized, that an election is not a war. It's not a do or die affair. That the election or an election is a mechanism in the Constitution, provided for in the Constitution, as a means of citizens choosing their leaders. And because you see, this Constitution that establishes elections as a mechanism for choosing of leaders was aware that the country had gone through a period where leadership was not through elections, where force was a means to get into leadership.
Yes.
But the framers of the 1995 Constitution were very clear when they said, and I want just to read one element, because you see, we need our people to know the context of why we have elections and why peace and peaceful conduct is critical.
Yes.
Because in the preamble to the 1995 Constitution, the people of Uganda say this through their representatives who are in the CA, Constituent Assembly.
Yes.
We have to remind, especially our young people who have not read the Constitution, or who the Constitution looks like a very old document that is far-fetched and detached. But it is our guiding document for whatever we do. And they said that we, the people of Uganda, recording our history, which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability, recognizing our struggles against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. And they go on and they go on. And then says, do hereby in and through this Constituent Assembly solemnly adopt and enact and give to ourselves and our posterity this Constitution of the Republic of Uganda on the 22nd day of September in 1995. But the key thing is our history.
Yes.
And we don't want the history that is bad to be repeated. And elections are one of the ways of ensuring that we maintain continuity of peace and stability.
Yes.
Are aware of the history of this country. And that is why in Article 1 of the same Constitution, it says that all power belongs to the people of Uganda. Yes. All power belongs to the people. Yeah. All power meaning that there is no power that is left. And then it goes on to say that the people shall choose who leads them, I'm paraphrasing, through regular, fair and free elections. And then in Article 59, the right to vote is established. And the Electoral Commission is established in 60 and 61. And then we go on to where we are now. So the people of Kawempe Division North, as they go one on the last leg of the campaigns today,
yes,
and as they prepare for the polling day on the 13th of March, we need to be aware of the context within which this is happening. It is not just an exercise of taking ballots.
And that's it.
No. There is a fundamental background and context to an election as a means to electing leaders that will then drive the country, drive the constituency to a better future and a better Uganda. So the incidents that happened were certainly inconsistent with what the framers of the Constitution envisaged. But let me also mention this, Hope.
Yes. That
we saw those incidents. But the bigger part of Kawempe North was peaceful even on that day. And we see sometimes we have a tendency, one incident can overshadow the entire process. And that's why we try as much as possible, and we call upon everybody as much as possible to try and avoid incidents that can easily overshadow a good cause. It's like, they say if you put a drop of blood in milk, the whole milk pot will go bad. So we want to make sure that we avoid even these small drops in our electoral process. But we should not forget that there are those many people of Kawempe and many candidates and many security officials who act according to the law, who act lawfully and peacefully, and that they were there even on those days, and they have been able to ensure that the subsequent campaign periods have been successful, have been peaceful, and that the candidates have been able to reach out to their supporters and make pictures of their manifestos on what it is they want to do for the people of Kawempe North once they voted candidate persons in Parliament.
Now, however, there have been some videos circulating on social media, videos of some candidates, some contestants actually bribing voters. So what measures has the Electoral Commission put in place to see to it, I don't know, will there be sort of like a punishment, for such things? Because of course that voter bribery is not okay.
Voter bribery is not only okay, but it is an offense.
Exactly.
It's an electoral offense. And the electoral laws detail what electoral offenses are. And let me say that when the candidates met before the returning officer for Kawempe to agree on the campaign program, the returning officer handed to each of the candidates with their agents a copy of the guidelines, campaign guidelines.
Yes.
And among the provisions within those guidelines are electoral-related offenses. And bribery is one of them.
Yes.
And there are sanctions within the law. But somebody would need to bring a case with evidence and go to court and prove the claim, because the commission speaks against these cases. But if anybody has evidence that anybody is involved in voter bribery during this period in Kawempe North, they are at liberty to take a matter to court, and the courts will determine whether the claim or allegation is true or not. But on the broader note, the commission has again been very consistent with the message regarding commercialization and the role of money in our electoral processes. That the huge amounts of money that are injected in our electoral processes in many ways undermine the integrity of the electoral process. That people should be able to vote their candidates of choice on the basis of their manifestos and programs, not on the basis of inducements, which are in themselves offenses within the law. But the question becomes that when a candidate or their supporters or their agents inject a lot of money to buy people, the red flags need to come up in the voters to say, so where is the math in all this? What is, because certainly people, and this is a role for civic education, which we must do even more, that people need to know why they are voting, who they are voting, what programs they are voting, and why they are voting the people that they are voting, and that bribery and inducements should not be a quality that should distinguish a candidate. Those are broader issues that we need to address as a country as we address the question of integrity in our electoral process.
Now, I just want to give a scenario related to that. Suppose like I said, there's some social media videos circulating, and of course you said that there is a need for evidence.
Yes.
And this person has to go through a court process.
Yes.
Now, tell us what entails in case evidence is actually found and it is brought to the Electoral Commission and they say, now here's the evidence, this particular candidate A or candidate B has been doing this. He or she has been bribing the voters. What next? Yes, we are going to court, but then here we are, we have a few days. Let me say we have a day to the polling, where people are going to vote. So what happens?
No, so the evidence is not brought to the Electoral Commission. The evidence is taken to court. Okay, and the courts determine. And when the courts determine that indeed there is evidence that the candidate was involved in malpractices, including voter bribery, and the evidence is overwhelming, we have seen cases where elections have been overturned. Yes, in this country, there have been cases, and they are on record. So that is why voter bribery or any other electoral offense is taken seriously and should be taken seriously by everybody, and to cleanse our electoral process from acts of that nature. Yes, the citizens should be able, to adduce evidence. There should be witnesses that will be able to testify. Yes. Because in most cases, we have also had cases where there is evidence, but witnesses say, that is our son, that is our daughter, and they don't show up. So if you have no witnesses who should support a case, then the case will collapse. And that is why the Commission always says that a credible, free, fair, transparent and electoral process is a responsibility of everybody who has a role to play in the electoral process. That it is not the responsibility of the Electoral Commission alone. That the Commission is a referee of this process. But when you are a referee in a game, the players have a role to play. The spectators have a role to play. Because if you have spectators, people who are in the chirasha, throwing stones at the players, you cannot have a clean game. That's true. If you have players who say, for us on our team, we have determined and decided that if we miss the ball, we will not miss the bone, and they go around breaking bones of other players. You can't have a clean process. If you have agents or if you have captains that are not committed to the rules of the game, you can't have a clean. And that's why the message of collective responsibility in ensuring that the country has a clean electoral process, and in this particular case, a clean by-election in Kawempe, is a responsibility of all the people that are involved in this process, from the candidates themselves to their supporters, to their agents, to security, to the media, because even the media, as we've already said, has a critical role to play.
Yes.
Because if you amplify falsehoods and become agents of fake news and disinformation and misinformation, you will certainly create an atmosphere that will not create conditions for a free and fair election. Yeah.
Well, we are discussing the update and preparedness of the Kawempe North by-election that is slated for the 13th of March 2025. Of course, they are going to be happening this Thursday. So definitely, we are calling upon people out there to be able to, have a peaceful election. But now, we are still here with Mr. Julius Mucunguzi, the head of public relations of the Electoral Commission. We are going for a short commercial break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Issues at hand. Issues at hand.
Welcome back. You are watching Issues at Hand, and we are discussing the update and preparedness of the Kawempe North MP by-election. And I'm here with Mr. Julius Mucunguzi, the head of public relations at the Electoral Commission. And now, you mentioned that there are 197 polling stations in Kawempe.
Yes.
Kawempe North, to be specific.
North. Kawempe Division North. That's the electoral area.
Okay.
Yes.
And we see that, first of all, we were having a voters registration, the update of the national voters registration.
Yes.
And I would like you to tell us the preparedness for that. The polling stations.
Yes.
Also, we saw that the systems also had some malfunctions. So how are you planning to deal with that prior to the polling day?
So, as I mentioned, Hope, before coming to where we are today, there was an update exercise. The update on this occasion really was very interesting because it was an update within an update. Because remember, we are already in an update, the general update for the general election that was ongoing, and then a by-election came within it. But the law is very clear. It says for a by-election, you must still do a specific update of the register of that particular constituency that you are dealing with. And that is what happened. And in that update exercise, new voters who are resident in Kawempe had never registered as voters, but now wanted to participate in the by-election, where 18 years, the citizens, they were able to register, to go on the register. And of course, verification of who a voter is and whether you reside in that particular locality was done diligently, as was the case for the general update of the National Voters Register. Then after, the display period. Now, the display is the point where the real credibility of and integrity of a voters register is established, because the display took place at each of the 197 polling stations in Kawempe North. And the people of Kawempe North at each of these polling stations had an opportunity to come and say, but who is this one? But this person died and they're still on the register on this polling station. Or this person, we know them to be underage, they are not 18.
Yes.
So all those objections are brought or were brought if there was any. And after that, there was a phase of a tribunal that is appointed by a magistrate to go through, look through any complaints that may arise out of the register. And that process also ended. Now where we are, we have a full, complete register for Kawempe Division North for all the voters that are going to participate in this by-election. I'm sure that in the next day, either by tomorrow or so, each of the candidates, each of the political parties participating in this by-election and the independent candidates will be given a copy of the entire voters register. Of course, the register that is a culmination of all that was seen at the polling station during the display, and subsequently the cleanup that would have happened following that display. So we have a solid, a credible voters register that is going to be used for the voting and polling in the Kawempe Division North by elections on 13th of March. So that is one. The Electoral Commission, teams from the Electoral Commission are all in place already. In fact, they are in the different parishes, the 9 parishes within Kawempe Division North, conducting training. The training of trainers for election officials that are going to handle this by-election started on Sunday. In fact, I participated in one of those trainings at the Kawempe offices of the Electoral Commission, and these are senior officials from the Electoral Commission drawn from different parts of the country, very senior, very experienced. They were doing a refresher so that then they go forward to train the others. So there's been training. There was recruitment. There will be now training of all the officials to know their responsibilities, to know what they're expected to do at the polling station, to know the expectations of the commission, to know that in undertaking the work of working in this by-election, they are really carrying the flag of the Electoral Commission and the country, for that matter.
Yes.
So in terms of preparedness at the level of human resource and training and capacity and skills and knowledge and competences, we have the best in town. They are here. They are all here. So that's the first one. The second is on the voter register that I've just spoken about. The third is on the materials, the polling materials that include everything.
Yes.
The ballot papers, the ballot boxes, the ink, the everything. It has also been already put together, and they are available now at our stores, warehouse in Banda, and that is where the teams will pick the materials on the morning of 13th of March, and the plan is to make sure that at least by 6 a.m. all materials on that day of Thursday, 6 a.m. at all the 197 polling stations, all the materials are there, and that the teams of the commission are just waiting for 7 a.m. to open the polls. But opening the polls is subject to requirements that are also in the law. That you don't just clock 7 a.m. and then you
just open.
No, there are some requirements. For instance, I'll just mention one or two. One, that there must be 10, at least 10 registered voters at that particular polling station who will witness the opening of the polls.
Okay.
So their names are taken, their particulars are taken, and it is a document that is kept by the presiding officer at the polling station. And there should also be a police constable, a constable at each polling station. So those are the two major requirements. But of course, the setup will have been done by the Electoral Commission officials. So all is set. We are all ready. Today we are waiting for the last day of the campaigns that should go as smoothly as possible. And on this particular, there's a point I wanted to make, which the Commission is very particular on. Knowing that Kawempe is a very busy area, densely populated, so much traffic, so many people. A key component that is going to ensure a peaceful day is adherence to traffic rules. Traffic police officers will be on hand to direct and guide on the movements. Please, we call upon everybody that is involved in this campaign process to follow the guidelines of traffic. Let's not drive one way because we are a candidate. No. Even when you're a candidate, the rules, the laws of the land regarding traffic still apply. So let's follow them. And let us continue to follow the guidelines provided by the Commission to be in the right place at the right time as agreed, and to make sure that the campaigns end at 6 as provided for in the law, to avoid use of abusive language and language that incites violence and hate, to avoid any acts that can bring us into confrontation with law enforcement, to make sure that we don't use social media and digital platforms to blackmail and create fake images that don't exist, because we are in the need of AI, artificial intelligence, and anything can be created.
That's true.
Voices, images, and situations. Let's make sure that we avoid anything that may put this campaign and this by-election into any form of dispute, because it will undermine the country, it will undermine Kawempe North, it will undermine the integrity and the pride of our country called Uganda.
That is definitely true. Now, we have seen rigging in the past. Boxes being stuffed with, papers, increased votes and all that. How do you ensure that the officials remain impartial? The officials at the polling station, the officers actually.
Yes.
How do you ensure that?
Now, first of all, the requirement on impartiality, on neutrality, on professionalism, on conduct is a core principle, the core values of all the staff of the Electoral Commission. And there is no doubt in our mind at all that all our officials that have been deployed in Kawempe Division North, and any of those that work for the Commission anywhere across the country, are expected to be impartial and to act professionally, because the Commission is guaranteed by the Constitution to act independently without any influence of anybody or an authority or any forces. And if there is any need for comfort to the officials of the Commission, that is the comfort. And we have no doubt in our minds about the integrity of the teams that we have that are handling this by-election. So if anybody does contrary to that, that will be an offense. And the provisions are there in the law on how to deal with any errant official that acts contrary to what they are supposed to do in law. So, but we have no doubt in the teams that are on the ground. We believe that working with everybody in the electoral process, whoever will be in this electoral process at the polling day, that we should be able to have a transparent process. And transparency is core. And that is why for us in Uganda, our polling stations must be set up in the open. You can't set a polling station somewhere in a place that is hidden. No. It is in the public view. Of course, it is cordoned off for safety and security of the materials and whatever, but it is in full view of everybody. No one can hide anywhere. That's why even the voting is in the basin, so that nothing is that whoever is walking will be seen if they are carrying more than one ballot paper. But of course, we don't expect. Now, if any people want to cause to engage in a malpractice, say, of ballot stuffing, then the enforcement and the laws must deal with them accordingly. Yes.
Okay. Then I want you to take us through the process of how results are transmitted and how does the public ensure that these results are accurate.
Right. So after today, tomorrow, the 12th of March, the commission, the returning officer, has invited all the candidates, their agents, the media, observers, members of civil society, to come for a pre-polling meeting. A pre-polling meeting is called for the commission to share its expectations and give out an outline of the way the polling day is going to be like. And this meeting that will happen at the Tale Center. The Tale Center is going to be at the School of Public Health at Makerere University. There's an auditorium, big auditorium there.
Yes.
That's where all the pre-polling meeting is going to take place.
Okay.
And there will be a detailed presentation on what to expect on polling day. I've made available to the candidates and their agents and made available to the public and the people of Kawempe North through the media who will be present at that occasion. So it's a very significant meeting, and it actually helps to pull together all the strands that will have taken place during the campaigns up to that point, and to make the broader appeal of, again, peaceful conduct, lawful conduct, and continuing to follow the guidelines. So that is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
And then on polling day, the guidelines on polling are also available. But to say that the polls by law open at 7. That is the actual voting.
The official.
As long as the conditions that we mentioned, 10
people.
At least 10
voters.
And the police constable, of course, with the officials. And so people will be guided. Voters will be guided as soon as they reach the polling station on the procedures, on the processes, on which table or desk to go to first, on the verification and checking particulars in the voters register, on the use of the biometric voter machine to check the authenticity and the integrity of the candidate, of the voter that will have come, and they go through the entire process and tick rightly the candidate of their choice. And we want to make sure that the people, actually the polling officials, will tell the people to make sure that we don't have cases of
double ticking,
invalid ballots, invalid votes. They are a menace. I've read a few reports that have been produced by staff of the Electoral Commission, where you find, I think they were mentioning, for instance, in the 2021 presidential elections,
yes,
that you had the winner, you had the runner-up, and that the third position was taken by invalid votes. Can you imagine that the third in the hierarchy of the number of votes that are counted end up being invalid, with either somebody taking double or taking 2 places, or and that is a question of voter education that we must do even more.
Yes.
We don't know whether it is a deliberate. Sometimes people can be overzealous and they say no, this is my man or this is my woman, and that becomes invalid.
Yes.
So making sure that the voters use the right signs, the right initials and right signs, either a mark, a tick, or a thumbprint, against the candidate of their choice. And they will be given these details at the polling station. So we want to make sure that Kawempe North by-election registers the lowest number of invalid votes on record in Uganda. And I believe we can actually do it.
We can
do it. So let us do it. And then at each polling station, at the end of the voting, polls close at 4. But the law says that anybody that is found in the line at 4 p.m. is allowed to vote.
Okay.
But the constable that is at the polling station is required at exactly 4 p.m. to stand behind the last voter that was in the line to make sure that no additional voters go into the line. And then these are shepherded until they all vote. Okay. And votes will be counted and announced at each of the 197 polling stations. So people will leave, agents will leave knowing the number of votes that they have polled at each of the polling stations. And then there's a transmission process of these results. There are very technical details of the different forms that are filled, the declaration form that has to be filled and signed by the agents and the returning officer, the presiding officer at that particular polling station.
Yes.
And then these are securely packed in tamper-proof material so that no one, there are 2 of them, but those are details really that may bore the viewer. But the idea is that everything is done transparently, everything is done in full view and presence of the agents of candidates, and the counted votes at each polling station are announced there and then. And then the tallying, which will happen at the tally center, at which the returning officer, and the returning officer for Kampala Electoral District is Henry Makabai. He's the man in charge of this entire process. Henry Makabai will receive all of this, supported by teams from the Electoral Commission, and then tally and receive all of these results from the polling stations, and then after tabulation make the final announcement, which is called the declaration.
Okay. Now, what has the EC implemented to see that there is, voter participation in this by-election?
The first, which is continuous, is voter education.
Yes.
Our teams, for instance, in Kawempe North, have been at it. General voter education about how voters should participate in an electoral process, why elections are important. But I should mention that there is voter education.
Yes.
There's also civic education. The Constitution provides that civic education has to be undertaken by the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and voter education is undertaken by the Electoral Commission. Yes. But as we know, civic education and voter education are joined at the hip. They are like sisters. They are like twins. You can't speak about one without talking about that. It's particularly civic education, because civic education speaks to the why. Why elections are important. Why should we vote? Why should we participate? The why.
Yes.
Voter education is more specific to the how. Okay? To the how. So the two go hand in hand, and we've had the Human Rights Commission, now I understand, has a new policy on civic education, but we've been working together, but also using every occasion that staff of the commission are to ensure that messages and information about the significance of elections and voting and choosing leaders through peaceful processes in elections are taken. So this is a continuous effort. We need to do much more collectively. We do civic education and voter education working with civil society organizations, working with the media, using all the digital platforms. In Kawempe, where we've had announcements on radio and TV, we have talk shows like this one, we have had outreaches on the ground. Our ADEA, the person responsible for Kawempe, Rema, Miss Rema Nasuna, has been at it, going to schools, going to universities, engaging young people, engaging market people on issues to do with elections in Kawempe, broader Kawempe, Kawempe North, Division North, and across the country, our teams that are all over the country. One of the critical roles of our staff, of the staff of the Electoral Commission, 800 strong of them that are all over the country, is to do voter education and civic education on a daily basis. Every opportunity they get, they should use it, whether it's in church, at a mosque, in a market, even a disco club, or at schools, at universities.
Yes.
make every opportunity you get to engage the voters and let them know the significance of the vote. So it's a continuous process. We want to do more, especially because the Commission wants to make sure that the voter turnout at all our elections is very high. You know why? Because, for instance, at the general election, at the general election, I saw statistics from the 2021. The turnout was about 60%, let's say, 59%, which means about 40% of the registered voters never showed up. And that is a cost to the taxpayer. Because when ballot papers are printed for a general election, and the people don't turn up, voters don't turn up to use them, they can't be reused. You can't say, let us use the remainder of the ballot papers that were printed in 2021 and we use them now. So there are losses that we incur because people have not walked the talk of their registration. So we call upon the people, we're calling upon the people during the registration exercise, voter update exercise, that please register as voters. Now the call going forward from now to the elections, starting with the special interest group elections, which will be commencing in June this year, is to say, please turn up, please show up, walk the talk of your voter registration. That because if you don't, then you have no right to complain if you have wrong leaders for that matter. So voter turnout is a key issue in our elections. We want to see 90% of people actually turning up to vote, those who are registered voters.
And then briefly, can you tell us if there's been an improvement made by the Electoral Commission from the previous election to the election that is going to happen on the 13th of March? Have there been any improvements or things that maybe you might have changed as the Commission?
Regarding Kawempe, the by-election in Kawempe, or generally? No, I think there is increasing, at the Commission, there is increasing use of digital platforms. Increasing use of digital. The Commission took a decision, for instance, to recruit a digital communication specialist to make sure that the Commission continues to engage cutting-edge digital technologies in reaching out to people, especially the young people, because all statistics, including the results from UBOS, the census, show that Uganda is a country of very many young people with a few older people scattered here and there. Over 70% of the population is below 35, actually 30%, 30 years of age. And where do they get their information from? It is through digital platforms. So we, as a Commission, are enhancing our digital, social media, online engagements, because we know that that is one of the places that people get information from. So that would be an additional. It was there, but now it is really very heightened. And second is increasing engagement with young people. The Commission, the chairperson, Justice Mucunguzi Simon, the Deputy Hajat Aisha Rubega, and all of the commissioners have been, since last year, engaging different stakeholders, but in particular young people. Young people, youth groups in schools, outside schools, in vocational institutions, speaking to them about the value of citizenship, the right to vote, the importance of participation in elections, and the Commission has covered a lot of ground in that regard, and we are going to continue doing that, because we know that stakeholder engagement is a core principle that guides the work of the Electoral Commission. And in fact, even today, the Commission is going to be meeting a number of stakeholders in regards to Kawempe, but also in regards to general elections for that matter. So stakeholder engagement is another boost that we are seeing.
Okay. Then finally, I want you to speak to the youth out there, and of course the voters. We are going into the elections, and we need peace in the by-election. So please speak to the people out there.
Let me deliver this message of the Commission to especially young people of Uganda, that the young people of Uganda are our present and they are our future. That's number one. Number two, that young people have many positive attributes. you have the energy, you have the vibe, you are digital savvy, you have the resilience, and you have the knowledge and the skills and the versatility. Now, the message is, this country is your country, is our country. Participate in all electoral processes and governance processes, but participate peacefully. Make sure that you continue to be law-abiding. Make sure that you treat each other with respect. Do not allow to be used because of political interest and electoral interest to participate in violence or unlawful activities. The laws, let us all be law-abiding, and let us nurture a country that we will be proud of as young people, because the future Uganda that we will have is a function of what the current crop of young people are doing and what they will contribute to building a united, prosperous and progressive Uganda. As we go into the Kawempe North by-election, today we have the last campaign rallies happening. Again, the message of peaceful conduct should reign, should lead. Don't use abusive language. Don't allow yourselves to use social media and digital platforms for purposes that you would not be proud of, or that don't make Uganda and the people of Kawempe North proud. Let us participate fully. Let us participate lawfully. Let us follow all the guidelines. Let us follow the directives that are given for purposes of ensuring a peaceful, free, fair, credible, and transparent election. Finally, this country, the Commission has been very consistent on this message, the chairperson and the commissioners, that we have one country called Uganda. It is our motherland. We need to protect it. We need to ensure that we build a united country, a prosperous country, a progressive country, because we shall not have any other country to belong to. This is one country, our country. Elections should not divide us. Elections should come and go, but they should not disrupt the normal daily routine work of millions of Ugandans that are going about their businesses, earning a living, and ensuring that they take care of their families and themselves. Thank you very much. And we wish you, the Commission wishes the people of Kawempe Division North a peaceful, a credible by-election, and that will make the people of Kawempe Division North proud, that will make the people of Uganda proud, and that will make the country indeed proud, and the Electoral Commission will be even more prouder when this election ends peacefully, because that is the desire of everybody.
Well, there you heard it from the head of public relations at the Electoral Commission, Mr. Julius Mucunguzi. And of course, today we were discussing the preparedness of the Electoral Commission for the Kawempe North by-election that is slated to happen on the 13th of March 2025, this Thursday. And of course, we do continue spreading out the message of peace. Let us ensure that it will be a peaceful by-election, that no one will be harmed, and that everything will move on smoothly. Otherwise, I am Hope Nyongereza. This has been Issues at Hand, and I wish you a blessed day.
Issues at Hand.